You say Philly.
Yes.
What did Philly do?
Philly won a championship in the 80s.
Yeah, with Dr. J.
Yeah. Everything. Are we live right now?
I don't know. Are we?
It would appear to be so. Hold up. Let me get my microphone. See if I can make this just stretch out a little bit further. So, that was loud.
Yep.
Welcome to episode 3 of my dad's podcast, where me and my dad podcast. Y'all gotta just take my word for it that an episode 2 exists. You're never gonna see it though, but it's there. It's on my computer actually, but that's between me and my computer. For the time being, how are you doing, Mr. Jones?
I'm fine, Mr. Jones. How you doing?
I'm cool. You seem to be a little tight boxed in over there.
Oh yeah, but I'm good. I'm losing weight. I can afford to be tight, boxed in.
Are you really?
Yep. Done lost 11 pounds.
Since when?
In the past 3 months.
You still look fat to me. No, I'm joking.
Oh yeah.
I
I look in the mirror, man. I look in the mirror and I can see. I just need to exercise, tone up something. Tone up. Give me another 6 months, family, and we're gonna be toned and everything. I'm gonna be walking around with my shirt off. Yes, sir.
You could give me some of that weight if you want. I need to gain about 15 pounds.
Well, I'm good. I just want to tone up. For my height, the doctor said I'm still about 15 pounds over my ideal weight.
For 5'2"?
Thank you. He said 5'1.5", so thank you for 5'2".
Anyway, so we was kind of chatting about basketball, even though this is a movie podcast. But you know, while we're on the subject, you just said something that kind of upset me a little bit. But
Kobe being the GOAT?
No, that's just an objectively true statement. I'm talking about your coworkers saying that Brittney deserves what she's getting. Can you?
Yeah.
We watch some movies and some TV shows that we will talk about, but I want to get this off of my chest, kinda. So, how did that conversation go?
No, I was in the office and someone mentioned Brittney Griner and that they, are they gonna get her out of jail and stuff? And all of a sudden, I said, let's do a survey. Who all think that Brittney Griner deserved to be in a Russian jail for marijuana for having such a small amount?
0.7 grams.
Having such a small amount, and they gave her like 9 years. And I polled the office, and all the people who are over 50 say, hey, you do the time, you do the crime, you do the time. And then everybody who was under 50 say basically, hey, yeah, I think, she was guilty, she was wrong. She should have to pay for it. But 9 years is that's terrible to give her 9 whole years. And I said, well, the U.S. government, they're going to try and get Brittney out of jail. But the thing is that they're going to give away arms dealer and people like that to get her. And I don't see anything wrong with it. But I personally, I think, hey, Brittney got caught up in a political situation and that Russia's government is making an example of her. And that's how I felt about the whole thing. With my office, everybody felt Brittney did something wrong. Brittney knew that she shouldn't have had the drugs over there in Russia. But they also feel, hey, that was a lot of time you get for 9 years. And I say, well, the thing is that you got guys here in this country who got caught with crack cocaine, got 20. White boys got caught with powder cocaine and got a slap on the wrist if they got that.
My reaction to people who feel as though Brittney got what she deserved, I want you to, off the top of my head, explain, not you specifically, but I want you to just off the top of the head explain to me Scandinavian tax laws. If you can't give me the laws and consequences for everything in every single country in the entire world, then that's a moot point. Because I've never been under this impression that she doesn't deserve to face some consequences for her actions, because it's just a bad idea to bring weed to an airport. However, if you're going to tell me that an American citizen should have to face Russian jurisdiction for something that they did, well, then that means that you know every single law of every single country and every single consequence that's associated with it. Or else it seems to me like it's smoke and mirrors. I think that it's homophobia veiled in there. I think that it's racism veiled in there. I think that it's classism veiled in there. I think that some people just have this desire to see female athletes not succeed, which, don't get me wrong, I myself, I find some humor in some of the discourse associated with female athletes. Why is my mic deciding today that it doesn't want to act right? It doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe if I cut it down a little bit, maybe my mic is telling me that I'm too loud. Let me reel myself in. But yeah, it bothers me that an American citizen who pays taxes and has not broken American laws. It really bothers me that my microphone just decides right now that it wants to break up and stuff, or whatever. That hasn't broken American laws, somehow is in a Russian prison, and we feel like America should just turn their back on them. And I feel like, okay, if you want to say, first of all, I don't think a lot of the people arguing knows exactly how much 0.7 grams of marijuana is. Like, I think if you were to give somebody 5 grams, 50 grams, and 0.5 grams and say, which one of these is 0.7 grams, I feel like a lot of these people would pick the wrong one. Like, I don't think they understand how minuscule an amount. 0.7 grams of marijuana is barely enough to roll up a blunt. First of all, so this idea that somebody should go to prison for 9 years with a doctor's note. Like, somebody went to medical school, had their whole residency, all that stuff, got a job at a hospital, did a workup on Brittney Griner and said, hey, I think that you need this for your condition. And then she gets caught with her medicine, literally with her medicine in a different country. And as opposed to y'all saying, well, she should be extradited back to this country to face the consequences associated in America for breaking the crime because she's an American citizen who pays dozens of thousands of dollars in taxes per year. As opposed to that, you're like, oh, well, she got caught in Russia. She should have known Russian law. Like, tell me something about Russian law before you can make that argument. I want you to tell me what is Ethiopia's tax policies? What's the public school system laws in South Africa? If I can't just point at a random country on the map and you tell me every single one of their laws, then that argument falls apart very quickly that she should have just known. Oh, well, and like 0.7 grams of marijuana, of cannabis, because it wasn't even flour. It was in an oil form. 0.7 is something that you could forget. It is something that you could not realize you had on you while you're going to the airport. It's something that you could very easily just get in Russia. That's not the type of thing you smuggle. You know what I'm saying? If you have enough to sell, enough to at least last you your entire trip, then I could maybe be like, all right, well, she was trying to smuggle drugs into another country. I can see why you would somehow understand that in that other country she should be punished for that. She's bringing her medicine in a quantity that is not enough to last her more than a week on accident, and you want to tell me she deserves to be in jail for 9 years. I need to know all of your personal because you better be clean as a whistle. You better not do nothing wrong. You better not do nothing wrong if that's the stance that you want to take. And nobody's that clean. Like, it's literally people are looking at her and they have certain feelings about people like her, and they're taking advantage of this situation.
When you say people like her, what are you talking about? Her gayness? What is that? People like her?
Women, black people, gay people. She falls into a lot of categories that a lot of people have negative feelings towards. Whichever, pick one. Female athletes, pick one. Celebrities, pick one. There's so much. There's so many. Now, a Russian arms dealer in America, I can understand why us as Americans would catch this person and feel like, all right, for our safety, we need to hold on to this person. An American who is just an overseas athlete for the summer that has a prescribed drug, That's not what. If you say that she deserves 9 years in prison, that's not what you're really talking about. You're talking about something else.
Well, personally, I don't think she deserved any time in prison. A lot of people do think she committed a crime in a foreign country and that she should pay for that crime.
You got to know all the laws in every foreign country to make that argument. I'm sorry to cut you off.
I also think that, anybody who breaks a law in any country, that they should be responsible for that law that they broke. Even the guy Bald, when he took the watch that time, I thought he should be responsible. But I think the sentence for that particular act is appalling. That you would give her 9 years for having, like you say, less than a gram or something, 0.7 grams. I don't know anything about drugs or anything like that, but I know that's a small amount. And to say, hey, well, we're gonna give you 9 years in prison, or your government's gonna have to turn over this arms dealer, to me, that's ludicrous. That you would want someone to pay that type of price for something that was so small.
Is Tylenol legal in Russia?
I don't know.
What about Xanax?
And like you said, in order for them to hold her that much responsible, they should have some kind of law that when you come to our country, you have to learn everything about our country.
My thing is, it is
feasible.
It was medicinal cannabis. And I understand that it's very easy to get a prescription for cannabis when you may not necessarily need that particular drug, but it is still a process that you still have to go through in order to cover certain bases. So, it's not like she broke an American law in Russia. She broke a Russian law in Russia that was perfectly legal in America. That's the thing. In America, her having 0.7 grams of cannabis with a doctor having prescribed it to her for a specific, which back pain is if it was Xanax. Let's say she had gotten hurt, because not everybody who does opioids get them from the street. Let's say a doctor said you were hurt. I'm prescribing you opioids, and then you need to go to Russia. Should you be arrested when you get to Russia for having these doctor-prescribed opioids for pain?
Well, I don't think you should be arrested for that, but I do think that there should be some prior knowledge to the Russian people to know, hey, I have a note from my doctor here in the United States stating that I need this drug in order to survive the pain of what I'm going through. And
can you elaborate on what you mean by prior knowledge?
Like for instance, if you're going to Russia,
mm-hmm.
you can call to the U.S. Embassy or to the Russian Embassy and find out what are some of the things. Can I, as an American citizen visiting Russia, can I have this particular drug there? And if they say no, you can't, then I can't take that trip to Russia with that drug, because we were in Jamaica with Rodney cousin and everything, and smoking marijuana in Jamaica technically is illegal as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy actually stopped Rodney cousin for something. I don't know what he stopped him for. It wasn't speeding, but something. And so he wrote him a ticket, and then he said, hey, you got marijuana there in the car, so I'm gonna give you a ticket for that too. And the guy but I'm not smoking it. The guy said, but see, you walked up to me giving me a ticket, and you smoking Ganya while you give me the ticket.
Yeah, it's not. I think, and that's a large part of why maybe the age demographics that you mentioned feel differently about things. The American media has, over the course of particularly the late 60s, early 70s, they did a lot to demonize marijuana in a way that's just not right. They spread a lot of we made it a Class A drug. They made it seem like it's something very different than it is. And particularly you bringing up Jamaica. It's a cultural thing.
They didn't tax it. They can't tax it.
Exactly. And that's the thing. And now younger people kind of have an understanding of why they did the things they did pertaining to not just marijuana, but it was a whole different thing with the hippie movement and people who are anti-war. They tried to paint them in a specific light. They did the same thing when I was younger. They did the same thing with what are the people from the Middle East? Arab type people.
Mm-hmm. Eric.
Like the American media isn't above demonizing any specific thing because that thing can be tied to a group of people. You know what I'm saying? Like being Muslim is what I meant to say, which is tied to the Arab people who I'm referencing the 9/11 incident is when it really got started, but that was my childhood.
Well, the American media is biased. They have their own little things that they want to get across. I mean, when you got Republicans saying one thing and Democrats saying something else, and those same two people sitting down at the bar drinking that same night, having dinner, laughing and joking because those things don't have any real merit to it.
Or effect on them.
Yeah.
We have policies being made by people who these policies don't affect.
Yeah, because I cannot see a 60, 70, 80-year-old man going to an abortion clinic talking about getting an abortion.
And another thing is I feel like there is a problem if I can walk into a legitimate business in California, buy a gram of marijuana, perfectly legal, go to the airport in California, get through the airport with said gram, because they in the airports they're going to tell you, hey, you need to be cautious of where you're landing, but we'll let you through. You know what I'm saying? So I could go through this airport, go to Russia, which, like I said, they said you should be cautious of where you're landing. But like I also said, not everybody knows Russian laws, especially pertaining to, like, for instance, if I'm landing in Florida, it's illegal in Florida. But if I do have let me finish what I'm saying real quick. If I do have this doctor's note in Florida, then it is like it differs and stuff. I just don't think that we as Americans, I think it's a slippery slope when we as Americans say, okay, you can buy that gram legally where you're flying from in America, fly somewhere else and get 9 years in a hostile foreign nation, and we are going to, like, I'm seeing more people championing the idea that, oh, she just got what she deserves. Oh, if it happened to me, Brittney Griner would be sleeping peacefully. Like, it is a very slippery slope. Like, just aside from her specific situation, when you look at what is that saying for us as American citizens?
Well, my thing is with Brittney Griner. I know that Brittney Griner probably done been to Russia years in the past and everything, and actually had probably more marijuana than she had this trip. It was something probably because, like you said, it was for certain medical reasons that she was smoking her, however she used it.
She had it for whatever reasons.
But my thing is that I guarantee you, in prior years, she probably had it with her because but because she got caught in this is strictly political. And anyone who's making a comment or, talking about how she should get what she deserved because she broke the law, they talking out their behinds, because this is don't have anything to do with the drugs itself. This is just something that they are trying to use as a political tool in order to get people out.
That's scary when Russia could militarize harming American citizens as a political tool and not face any consequences, especially a country that do you know how much better our country would be if we spent less money on the military and spent more on the public school system, on fixing roads, on, like, so much of our money goes towards the military specifically to protect United States citizens from hostile foreign governments. And it's a very slippery slope when we just decide, all right, we don't like this person, so we're going to let them be treated however as an American citizen. And I know you don't particularly like when I bring up Trump and stuff, just because I think the guy is hilarious and entertaining, and I don't dislike him as much as everybody else does. Even though I don't think he was a good president or nothing, I just think he was fun.
I don't dislike him.
I think he was fun, but I also think that it was another slippery slope when you have a media company that's responsible for dispersing opinions as much as Twitter, and they are allowed to just completely cut him off for not necessarily breaking, like what they did to Donald Trump creates a slippery slope. And it's like, yeah, we don't like Trump. Yeah, we feel like we feel like his specific consequences were worth his actions. However, we have to, when we take a step back and look at it, you're creating a slippery slope when you let people do certain things to people.
Well, my thing is, when you're the president of so-called the most powerful country in the world, and you're saying, and you're lying, and you're lying, I don't know. And when you have,
okay, but Donald Trump,
was 80 80 something million people voted for Donald Trump.
Donald Trump didn't tweet though, go out to the thing on January 6th. He stood up in front of people at a meeting and said, "Yeah, we're going to the Capitol," which he didn't go to the Capitol. I think that's hilarious. But like I'm not gonna say he's innocent. I think the United States government should have followed up on, but I'm talking about from the perspective of Twitter itself, which was his main outlet in order to, if he wasn't speaking publicly, that was his main outlet. He did not break any Twitter rules, yet Twitter found the need to ban him because of something that he said in person. And it's like, yeah, I definitely think that what he did pertaining to January 6th was wrong, but you are still creating a very slippery slope when you say, okay, well, he doesn't have to break anything on this platform, because then what's to stop it from, all right, now it's Black Lives Matter isn't allowed to tweet, is getting canceled on Twitter, you're not allowed to tweet about Black Lives Matter because the Black Lives Matter owner had misappropriated funds. One second.
Well, the thing with Donald Trump is because Donald Trump was president, but the other day you were saying that Twitter or somebody had blocked you because you posted something and you actually had something to do with what you posted, but because they couldn't verify that.
My friend had me featured on the song. I used to make music before I realized that being a rapper is too dangerous in America. My friend had me on a song, and he posted it, and I reposted my version of the song completely with his permission. Like, it was a 100% legal process. Like, even if it did belong to somebody who I didn't know personally, or if I wasn't necessarily on the song myself, I posted it. And then Instagram took down my post, and then not only that, I noticed that none of my other posts that I'm posting are getting out to people and stuff like that. And the ironic part is the same thing happened to the guy who owned the song. Like, I texted him, and I'm like, hey, this thing happened. Do you know what channels you could go through in order to fix it? Like, for instance, if I was going to take one of my songs, I have my music on YouTube, on a different YouTube page, and I wanted to take one of my songs and put it here. YouTube might be able to pick up within their algorithm. It's not really big enough, so it probably wouldn't, but let's just pretend like it has a few million views. And I wanted to post my song on this YouTube page for whatever reason in the middle of this podcast or something.
Right.
I would be able to go on my other YouTube page, go down, take the link to the thing that I want to post it and say, hey, this is clear. Like, if you find it in this thing, it's allowed. So I'm basically contacting him to see if he could go through that. Same thing happened to him. And it's like, I think that in this age of social media, with it's not necessarily monopolies, but it's a very small group of people who control the outlets under which most information gets out. Same way that it was with television. I think that we need to revisit what qualifies as censorship.
Well, the thing is that Big Brother's in everything. The United States government's in everything, and that's why every time you turn around, you got the head of these platforms like Twitter and Facebook and all those things. They're always sitting before the Congress or something, having to justify what they did because Big Brother's saying now, "Hey, you done made your money. Now we gonna control this thing, so it don't get out of control."
But I think I agree with you all the way up until you said, so it doesn't get out of control. I don't think that's their means for wanting to control it. Because my thing is, I feel like the government should be able to step in order to stop them from controlling what information can or can't get out.
Well, my thing is, in this country right here, anytime you let Big Brother get into it, Big Brother's going to take it over. And then the next thing you know, something that you started out as a friendly platform in order to meet, greet, and to just, get your stuff out there. The next thing you know, you under arrest or you're under suspicion for doing something that's illegal.
I think where we're kind of seeing, not necessarily disagreeing, but not seeing it the same way, is I don't trust the people who control these platforms any more than I trust Big Brother. It's just, at least Big Brother, because we pay taxes to them, we can, as citizens, have some sort of say-so. And, we could tell Big Brother, hey, we don't think it's right for you to censor us. Like, let's say the government decided to just get rid of, I can't remember the exact word for it, but just get rid of the First Amendment. We have some form of power as tax-paying citizens, as the citizens of the country that is the government of, to say something. If Twitter, Instagram, the owner of Google, Facebook, all these people, they decide, hey, you are not allowed to speak freely on this platform that has grown over the course of the last 10 years to where that's where people come for news. You know what I'm saying? We don't have as much dictation with them to be like, hey, that's not right for you to censor us. Because, like, what are we going to do to you? Like, the only people who have something to say to you are the shareholders.
Right.
So that's why I feel like when businesses get to a certain point, that's why government needs to step in. And I don't trust government too much more than the businesses, but it's just like I can't myself step in to, you know what I'm saying, make sure everything is run fairly for everybody. But I just think that these businesses, and I think particularly as it pertains to tech, internet, social media, it's so new in the grand scheme of things. Like, most of these laws were made before anybody knew what an internet was, before anybody knew what a social media was. Monopoly laws were created before Google. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when we have this outdated system that we're using in order to this outdated system we use to basically curate newer things conceptually, I think that there's going to be some, like, I'm having a hard time finding words right now. I think you understand what I'm saying.
Right. Well, my thing is that you have Fox News, you have CNN, you have MSNBC, and all those different platforms of news, and they all have their own agenda, and they following that agenda to the letter.
If you not only their agenda, but the people who buy those ads, like those commercials that you see when you're watching the news, they're expensive, and those people who pay all that money for those commercials, they're gonna have some say so in what is happening in the product. No differently than YouTube.
Oh yeah.
If you want ads on your YouTube video, you got to talk about things that YouTube approves of, and it's like we have that understanding of it like that with YouTube, but we don't understand ESPN is like that, CNN is like that, Fox is like that, Disney is like that. That's why if you see if you have a movie with a prominent black person that's on the front of the the art for the movie. Mm-hmm. The Chinese release is not going to have them there. The Chinese release of the Black Panther had to have T'Challa with his mask on. Like, it's everywhere where the people who are pulling the strings, the people who are buying the advertisement space, has so much of a large control into stuff. There's certain... I don't want to go too deep into that, but there's like certain aspects of movies and things like that is just because we're trying to get into the Chinese market, we're just going to pretend like a certain thing is that way. The whole recreation of Mulan, and it's like it has a very large effect on public perception in a way that I don't think that we understand, and we try to chronicle it down to specific situations and make it seem like, okay, well, I agree with this thing, I agree with that thing, so I'm not going to argue against the whole machine that's doing it because I like this one cog in the machine. But the reality of the situation is there is a larger machine, and if you let that cog go, this cog also has to go, and at some point you are going to see the negative effects that it has on your life, because it all is just going to benefit the people with the most money. Give me 1 second before you start talking. Or, I mean, you can talk. I'm just going to hit the camera real quick.
For instance, Carlton Tucker. What is his name? Carson Tucker on Fox. He made this inflammatory remark about this woman. This woman takes him to court, and the courts say, well, she can't get her settlement or whatever because he's not a legitimate news source. But yet and still, he's coming on every night as a legitimate news source. And I thought that was so crazy. Now, people who listen to him know he's not a news person. He's I forget what they say he is, but to me it was so stupid when this man, half the stuff that he says it as like it's news, like it's anchored. I don't know. That's just the government we're living in, and the things that goes on. And we went a long way from Brittney Griner. She's still over there in Russia, man.
I was just
in jail. She in jail in Russia. And we talking about the stupidness that they do in this country. But the thing is, until it's actually brought down to its very lowest and then rebuilt, this country is never going to be a just place for anyone that's not of the white race to live in.
Particularly rich land owning white males, because that's what that's the thing. You create a foundation and then you build on top of the foundation. No matter how many walls you change in this house that we're in right now, the foundation is going to remain the same. So if it's built on a foundation of racism, classism, sexism, you know what I'm saying, then you can build up the nicest whatever you want around it, but you're never going to eliminate racism, classism. So if you want to do that, you got to tear down the whole house, recreate the foundation differently than you created it the first time, and then build from there. We're thinking about adding on to the house right now, building a thing, balcony. Mm-hmm. That balcony is still in some way, shape, or form going to be tied to the foundation of the house. Like the people who are going to do it, all the paperwork and stuff, they have to understand how the foundation of the house functions before they could build anything onto the house. And that's exactly how America works. We keep trying to change all these things for justice, social justice, and things like that. But it's like at the end of the day, we have laws that are built specifically to accomplish a certain goal. And if that goal isn't the same thing as what we're adding onto it, then what we're adding onto it isn't going to change the original foundation laid. It's just going to have to adjust to the foundation that it's being built on top of. And then we particularly have these laws that the way that they're worded is to where you can just like you can make whatever you want of them. Like, what is, when you say a legitimate news source, what if I think because I don't think this, but what if I think being on TV makes you legitimate? Like, what the word legitimate there is, it's very subjective. You know what I'm saying? In that particular context, like, what does that even mean when you say he's not a legitimate news source? Does that mean that I can just say whatever I want? What if this particular podcast blows up and we get 10 million subscribers? Can I just say whatever I want without any legal ramifications because I'm not a legitimate news source?
Well, what they were saying is that he was not a news anchor. He don't claim to be a news anchor. He don't claim to be a news caster or anything. He's just someone who's sitting there with a platform talking on Fox News. On Fox News.
Exactly. Like, what under, like, does working for a news station not constitute you being a Tucker Carlson is by his name, by the way.
Yeah, I don't. Well, whatever his name is, I think he's one hateful guy who.
He's an American television host, conservative political commentator, and author. Does that, like, none of that says news anchor, but that basically says news anchor. That's news anchor just with extra words in there.
Yeah.
If you're going to be a television host and a conservative political commentator, like, I think those things together makes you, especially if you work for a news outlet
like he do. But he has this audience, and the newscaster, the Fox News Network, they realize, okay, he's bringing in a lot of viewership,
yes,
with the mess that he's actually spilling. So we're gonna let him spill it, and we're gonna let him do what he want to do, as long as people keep watching him.
How much, like, it goes down to, a lot of people don't want to understand the people who are making money from whatever he's doing. How much control do they have over the overall, like I think, here's another thing that I think is just, it's kind of off topic, kind of not off topic, but it puts things into perspective. One of my favorite rappers, Kodak Black, when he first blew up, he was facing, I think, like, life in prison for something, or a long time in jail for some scamming related thing that he did. He's been in and out of jail still since then. But what happened was, as opposed to him going to jail for a long time, he got signed, and then his label paid a whole bunch of money for lawyers and stuff, and ended up getting him, like, probation or something like that. And it was I appreciated it because I like his music, but at the same time, it was telling to me that it's like, all right, so I can do the exact same thing, and if I'm a person who has this much money, these are the consequences. However, if I'm a person who has this much money and resources, well, now these are the consequences, and they're significantly lower. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, I appreciate what happened specifically to him because I like his music, but at the end of the day, it still creates a slippery slope. It's a snowball effect that it's like, all right, it's still a part of a not fair machine. It's just because it happens to, on this particular occasion, work favorable to me personally.
Well, if you under a label, and this label stands to see where they stand to make hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, on your talent. Oh yes, you're not going to jail. You're not
Exactly.
going to jail until you done made quite a few hits for them, and then they don't want you to go to jail. Then they want you to go to the grave, because then they make more money when you're in the grave.
Amen. Like that's the thing. It's when you start following the money, when you start following the trail of the breadcrumbs of money, you start noticing a lot of things that maybe shouldn't be connected are connected. A lot of things that maybe should be irrelevant to one another are a little bit more relevant than you would think when you start actually following the bread. Because it's only so many places that it can go, and it's like, when you are a massively powerful billionaire, one of the parts of being a billionaire is how many different industries do you have power in? Because when you got $10 billion or $50 billion, it doesn't matter at that point. When you get to the point where you have more money than you could ever spend, it doesn't matter. Now what matters is how liquid is that money? How much control does that money give you? Like, if you look at classes of billionaires, what's the guy over Amazon? Well, not over Amazon, but he has like a 13-15% of Amazon, and he's technically on paper the richest person in the world.
Basil?
Yeah, Jeff Bezos. He's not even of a high class to billionaires, because when you get to that point, people they value different things. You can all right, everybody in the room can buy anything they ever want. How many different laws can you change? How many like you know what I'm saying? Like because so much of his money is isolated within one particular thing. Like, you have a lot of say so in Amazon and whatever Amazon might have effects on, but it's that's different than somebody like Bill Gates, who might not have on paper as high a net worth as Jeff Bezos, but he has more of a diversified portfolio. So he could say something to oil companies and they got to listen to him now. And that's how it starts working when you get higher up with the money. And I'm just going to finish this last statement. So it's like, what it comes down to is they span themselves out so much to where they have so much control over so many different things, to where two different things that you would think are completely unrelated to one another are actually related if you just follow where the money's going.
Well, and like for instance, the Koch brothers. The Koch brothers are billionaires, but they don't have billions like the people that you just mentioned. But see, they've spent millions and billions into our government, putting people in office and putting them in places to where now you're a senator for this state, you're a senator for this state, you're a senator for all these different states, you're a congressperson for that state, and they make a phone call. Hey, I want you to do this. That's why our politicians, they don't act on their own. They don't act for the people. They act on the fact that these people who you first came in, you were just a wealthy person, and within your first year or two, you become millionaires, and then your money start to grow in each year, because you're getting all these campaign donations and all that stuff. But those are not donations; those are payoffs. And you can't say I'm gonna make that decision. That's why you have so many people in the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. They don't have decision making powers on their own. They owe these big companies, these people with all these billions of dollars, and they have to vote that way, or they realize that, hey, at the end of the day, these people gonna back somebody else. I'm gonna lose, and then they're gonna do everything in their power to take the little money that I did get from them back.
And I agree. First of all, let me say I agree 100%. And that was very eloquently worded. But on top of that, it even goes past America. Like, for instance, they used to say no two countries with a McDonald's have ever gone to war and things like that. And that's probably not the best example to use. But it's like when these big corporations start making money in other countries and stuff like that. Like, they have so much say so. And I better like if I give you $15 million and you to your campaign, and then you get elected, and now this is your livelihood, is the fact that you got elected. Like, yeah, you better make some laws in favor of me. And until they change the fact that you can do that, like as a presidential candidate, they determine how serious you are by how much money you've collected. That system by itself does not permit for fair democracy.
And that's true. That's why I'm firmly for giving all those people time limits. If you're going to give the president 8 years at the most, why everybody else can run for as long as they want, as many times as they want? You got people right now like Nancy Pelosi, you got Chuck Schumer, you got all those people. They've been in office 40 years. Can you imagine how things changed in 40 years? I mean, the way they thought in the beginning is totally different now than what they thought back then. And now you realize the only thing that's keeping them in politics is money.
Can I remind you of how frustrated I always say I am with the fact that you have this antiquated way of thinking? Like it's still like so things change over time. That's besides the point.
Oh, yeah.
That's besides the point. But like I just wanted to point that out.
I don't change. I'm one of them jokers. That's why I can't be in office.
I would vote for you. If
Well,
you ran
my
for
wife
president.
said she wouldn't vote me because when I said I'm gonna run for office, I say I'm running strictly for the money, baby. We're gonna get in the office. We're gonna make as much money. I'm gonna vote. I'm gonna vote any way anybody want me to vote, long as they paying right.
Yeah, see, I'm about to get it.
So she was saying that she was holding up a sign across the street saying, "I ain't gonna vote for you. Don't vote for him. Don't vote for him. He ain't about the people's business." No. I'm like most politicians. I'm gonna be about my business. Building my brand, building my business up.
Hello, and then the funny part is when you do that. Oh, hold up. Look at the other one for now. I don't know what's going on with that. I guess the memory card might be full. I'm not exactly sure what those beeps mean. I don't know if I'm looking into it, but the funny part is when you do that. Guess who benefits? Me, her, your other son, your mom, your brothers, your sisters, her mom, her dad, her sisters, her brother, all, and it's common sense to do that if you have the ability.
Generational wealth. You building generational wealth.
And the problem is that we live in a world where somebody as intelligent and beautiful, by the way, but as intelligent as mommy would be able to recognize, hey, I don't like this thing when I can see it specifically. You telling me honestly that's what you're doing. But then not realize everybody who you're voting for is doing that.
Everybody who's in that office, they go in that office with a great intention. That intention is to, hey, I'm going to try to do the best for the public. And then they realize that the public's going to do what they want to do. And if I can get rich in the process of just acting like I'm doing what they want me to do, then, hey, I'm going to go for it. All that is a job. And most people go to work looking to get paid the maximum for what they do. I'll go in there and vote. Oh, man.
Exactly. Like,
I'll be in there voting for slavery.
I was going to say, as long as, wait, can I not be enslaved?
I'm going to be a master, but I'll be voting for slavery.
And that's the thing. Like, you would literally would just vote for anything.
Not just black people enslaved, all people enslaved.
If you give
Asians and everybody.
If you give
whites,
me enough money and then make me and my family not be enslaved, yeah, black people could be enslaved, because that's the thing. Like you say, it's a job. Most people, the average person, most people watching this right now, you don't go to your job looking to make a positive social change. No, like that's it. Like if your job told you, hey, treat black people differently than everybody else, and we will pay you double your salary right now, then guess how black people are getting treated? Worse than everybody else.
The way we're getting treated now, because a lot of times,
because that's what they're saying.
They're in places. And they got the same title you have. They're doing the same job you're doing, but because they making your life miserable, they making more money.
Mr. Jones, you know that we've been talking for 40-something minutes and have not gotten to any movies or TV shows yet. I've been meaning to ask you. I'm just going to ask you on camera now, since I was going to ask you before. How do you feel about just doing 2 shorter podcasts a week as opposed to trying to? We haven't even been keeping up with the weekly, but like that's my fault if anybody cares.
I think the shorter is better. You focus more on what you need to focus on, and then all of a sudden, you can get that out there. So 2 is better than 1 long one, I think.
So how's like Mondays and Fridays we can record? They'll be out Tuesdays and Saturdays.
That's fine. I'm open to all of it.
Okay, so we watched Nope. I have a list. I always throw my phone. I actually did crack my phone finally. We watched Nope. We watched The Gray Man. We watched Shooter. Mm-hmm. We watched another TV series too. We started on Avatar, ironically enough. He fell asleep, but it was his idea. That kind of caught me off guard, but I'm hoping he enjoyed it enough to keep watching it. Well, we watched another TV show though too. All of that stuff is going to be covered on the next episode because we kind of got away from ourselves this one. But I feel like we talked about something important.
Family, I want y'all to go out there and see Nope. I see a lot. We within our household had somewhat different opinions of Nope. I think Nope was exciting, and I think Nope was a good movie, but I think Nope was lacking somewhere. I don't know what it was, but I think it was lacking. So I want y'all to go out there and check it out and everything, and y'all, let us know what about Nope that you agreed with and disagreed with. Because I would recommend everybody to go out there and see it because I think Keke Palmer and all of them did a wonderful job.
I think that it was carried more by the acting prowess of the actors and not as much by necessarily the storyline or the captivating nature of it. To be honest, the camera just cut off. Hold up. But yeah, back to what I was saying. To be honest, I'm going to have to watch it again before we talk, because we're going to talk about it on Friday when we do ours. I have to watch it again because first of all, it started so slow. Like, I'm not going to lie that in that theater, I spent at least 20 minutes of the movie asleep. Like, I watched I was up for like the first 50-something minutes, and I was just like, and I think it also was I kind of was also affected by the fact that in the promotion for it, they were never really specific about what the movie's about. So I came in there to support a movie that has Keke Palmer and what's the name of the guy from
I don't remember his name.
Get Out, and Jordan Peele, obviously. Like, I went to support them in a movie that I already didn't necessarily know what it was about. And then the first 40 minutes of the movie is not really getting to nothing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to have to watch it again before we sit down and really do it. I mean, I could talk about it now, but we've just been talking for so long. So I'm going to sit down and watch it again. But I think that had a negative effect on the movie. The fact that it was so much time before I knew what am I looking at this movie for. Also, I have some opinions on the fact that I don't think Keke Palmer was necessarily the right person for that role. I think Keke Palmer got typecasted in specific types of roles at an earlier point in her career. And I think now the way that I view her has grown, and I don't mean this in a negative way. What I'm saying is a compliment to her.
Yeah, she's a very, very good actress.
Yeah,
now.
and not only that, she's very successful. She is of a certain caliber. So yeah. I find it hard.
Keke, we putting you in there with Angela Bassett and all of them. Halle Berry, baby.
Could you imagine Angela Bassett trying to play the role that she was playing in that movie?
She wouldn't have played it. She couldn't have played it.
Because you're Keke Palmer. You're not this little sister. I don't know the word. And I understand that her character over the course of the movie did grow, but still, I don't. It's off. To me now, it's off-putting to see you in such an immature role because I know better than that of you. When you get to a certain level of stardom, a lot of people came to watch this movie because you were in the movie. Like when you get to be that type of person, and then not to mention her actual personality comes across so well in her roles, and it's like, yeah, she has a happy-go-lucky personality, but in my mind as a fan, I've already associated that to an extremely mature, successful woman. So now when I see you be something other than that, which I'm not saying you have to necessarily be typecast as something, but just to be a mature figure, I don't think it's too much of a typecast. I just feel like you should be a mom somewhere, not necessarily, and I don't mean that to be ageist or to say that because of your physical appearance. It's just like what I come to you for. Like if I hear Keke Palmer, if I'm just scrolling Instagram and I see Keke Palmer, I'm not, and she's talking, I'm not expecting to hear an immature rhetoric coming from her. So then when I turn on a movie and everything that I'm seeing is so immature and childish from her, it's like it's harder for me to necessarily get into it. And like I say, the movie started off so slow, but we'll go more into depth about all of that. I'm honestly more excited to talk about Shooters though. It was Shooter.
Shooter.
TV show. I thought it was a movie, and then it turned out to be a TV show, and it was just, it was great. The Gray Man. I might do like my own personal movie review of about that also, because I just have I have a lot to also say about that.
That was a nice movie too.
It was a great movie that I have so many negative things to say about.
Yep. But it was a good movie. You can find the negative stuff
Great,
that you
great
can talk
movie.
about.
And that's why I was thinking about doing my own. Because what I've noticed with this whole YouTube thing is when people are looking at like reviews of movies, they're way more interested in you talking bad about it.
Yeah.
And I very seldom come across a movie that's so good, so captivating, so popular. I loved all the actors and actresses that was in it, and I loved them before they were in it, and they played their roles so great. But I can still, oh my God, I could pick that movie apart like stuff in my teeth. Like,
yep, I look forward to talking about those as well, because those are some excellent movies. All three of the movies we just mentioned was very, very, very good movies.
It was another show we watched. I can't remember.
Some flaws in it that we will bring out. That's just us. We bring out the flaws.
We talk bad. We talk bad about people. What can we say?
Yeah, sorry, but I love Kiki.
I'm trying to turn these Kiki Palmers into baby mamas. Shout out Childish Gambino.
Oh,
but
hey.
No,
I was just saying, hey, we can bid farewell until the next time.
Yeah, that was the same thing I was about to say.
Yep.
You know, peace,
fam,
love.
We love coming here before you and everything, and giving you a chance to listen to us talk about different experiences and different things that's going on.
I'm gonna talk if y'all don't listen. I'm not as you know what I'm saying. Y'all should be a fan of him. I'm not a great person.
Y'all hear me?
I love you, Mr. Jones. You know that?
Love you too, Marlon. Love you.
But until next time,
take care, fam.
Bye.
Bye.